Right friends, welcome back to editorial discussion. Two things before going ahead. There are two issues of Saturday, and those things I am going to cover subsequently either tomorrow or day after tomorrow. And second point is, whatever news we miss here in the news for a while, I am covering in why and how or facts and figures, and if some elaborate discussion is required here, I am covering it as a separate capsule. In fact, last week we produced three important aspects. Surrogacy is one important aspect last week we produced, and nutrition security, quite elaboratively we discussed about nutrition security. So, such type of aspects we are discussing, and for 12th week you are going to have capsules on national health policy. Critically we are going to examine that. At the same time, various types of digital payments, there are several types of digital payments in operation. From examination perspective they are very important. I am going to cover one capsule for 12th week. And water crisis, in fact this is the one of the hottest topics in recent days, water crisis. Not only that, in future this climate change is causing several concerns across the globe. So, we are going to cover this water crisis for 12th week, and similarly we cover certain aspects in 13th week, especially tuberculosis, the goal of ending tuberculosis by 2025, whether it is feasible or not, that we are going to cover in 13th week. So, please understand, whatever we are not able to cover here, we are covering either through why and how or through separate capsules. And at the same time, as I have already told you, 1st April onwards we are going to bifurcate this news for a while as well as news analysis. Let us look at news for a while. There is one front page news item of Indo-US Civil Nuclear Pact likely to miss June deadline. And here I will spend few minutes because this is also important from the perspective of preliminary examination. In fact, India USA civil nuclear deal belongs to 2008, but subsequently it ran into problems because of nuclear liability. What is the meaning of nuclear liability? If some nuclear accident occurs, then there may be demand for millions of dollars, at the same time billions of dollars from the affected parties. Foreign entities do not want to take that risk, and subsequently India created nuclear insurance pool, and India's nuclear supplier insurance policy was devised, and India created first India nuclear insurance pool. This is INIP, and it is the 27th global nuclear insurance pool. So, if any damage occurs, please listen carefully, if any damage occurs because of nuclear accident, all of you are familiar with the Japan Fukushima accident. So, such accident occurs, then the third party liabilities will be met through this India nuclear insurance pool. So, this is 1500 rupees crore, this India nuclear insurance pool. This is established with the GICRE. From preliminary perspective, please do not forget, because it will address the third party liability under Civil Liability for Nuclear Damages Act of 2010, and after passing this, now the foreign firms are willing to come here. So, in case of major accident, they need not face the risk, and the risk will be taken care of by India Nuclear Insurance Pool. This is 27th Global Nuclear Insurance Pool. India Nuclear Insurance Pool is established, and one of the main partner in that is GICRE. Please do not forget, after the India Nuclear Insurance Pool is established, now New India Assurance became the first one to issue countries' nuclear suppliers insurance policy. So, it provides insurance coverage to operators and suppliers for any nuclear liability towards the third party. So, two things please do not forget, INIP was created and India Nuclear Insurance Pool is 27th Global Nuclear Insurance Pool, and here New India Assurance became the country's first insurer to issue nuclear suppliers insurance policy, right. So, having learned this, now please look into this article. What are the problems? Actually 6 reactors are to come up, where that is Kovada near Srikakulam in Andhra Pradesh. Kovada is the place near Srikakulam. Actually here one nuclear power plant is to be established, 6 nuclear reactors are to be established. The firm which will execute this is Westinghouse. Westinghouse is based in USA, but it is owned by Japanese Toshiba. This Westinghouse is in USA and it is owned by Toshiba. Toshiba belongs to Japan, and in India the organization which is responsible for executing all these things is Nuclear Power Corporation of India Limited, please do not forget. So, 2 issues raised in this. One issue is Westinghouse is into problems. Here please look into this. The operationalization of the deal is into problems. As per this article, 2 problems are in fact presented, 2 problems are projected. Here in November 2016, India and Japan agreed on Civil Nuclear Cooperation Pact, but the point is its parliament known as DIET, D-I-E-T, that is the name of parliament in Japan, but DIET is yet to ratify it. Unless it is ratified by Japan parliament, it is not possible to go ahead, because the firm Westinghouse is owned by Toshiba. Toshiba is a Japanese firm, right. The second problem is Westinghouse is itself into problems. It reported some $6 billion of losses recently, and it is Japanese Toshiba owned company. So, it puts a question mark on the future of Westinghouse. So, because of the problems associated with Westinghouse, and at the same time Japan's Civil Nuclear Cooperation Agreement is yet to be ratified by Japan. So, because of all these things, this operationalization of the nuclear deal may be prolonged. It may not take place before the intended period of June. That is this lead article on the front page of The Hindu, and please do not forget certain things here. One important aspect I would like to tell you is Nuclear Power Corporation of India Limited is the nodal authority for implementing various nuclear projects in the country. At the same time, 6 reactors are to be established by Westinghouse at Kovada, that is in Andhra Pradesh. Third point is India Nuclear Insurance Pool is created, and the main thing behind this India Nuclear Insurance Pool is GICRE. And the fourth point is under India Nuclear Insurance Pool, the first nuclear suppliers insurance policy was issued by New India Assurance. I hope it is clear. Then Pakistan detains 100 Indian fishermen. Last week we discussed about the problems between India and Sri Lanka. India and Sri Lanka, we deliberated, Indians are going into their waters. Second thing is bottom trawling is the problem. But when you look at India and Pakistan, one should have clear idea about, I am not referring to this article. Only I have taken this news item to explain you about India and Pakistan. This is a Sir Creek dispute. Sir Creek dispute is the dispute between India and Pakistan, right. So, here there is a dispute, this boundary dispute is there in the creek, and what is Pakistan view, what is India view, I have written here. Pakistan says that as per Sindh government resolution of 1914, boundaries were earmarked showing creek as a part of Sindh, that is present day Pakistan. And India says, paragraph 10 of the same resolution says that creek is navigable and navigable creeks are to be shared 50-50. So, India says that the boundary line must be at the center of the creek. Pakistan says as per the 1914 agreement that entirely creek belongs to Pakistan. So, this is Pakistan and Indian opinion. Leave all these things, please do not forget this is Sar Creek dispute is between India and Pakistan, please do not forget. Look at the next one. Uttarakhand government to ensure safety of Corbett Park wildlife, and please do not forget here some road is going to be constructed and it is proposed to be it is proposed to pass through Corbett Tiger Reserve, that is the news. But before that please do not forget Rajaji Tiger Reserve, Corbett Tiger Reserve, these two are in Uttarakhand and two more are declared recently, are going to be declared. In fact, there is a proposal to declare two more. So, Uttarakhand will soon have 4 tiger reserves. So, to explain that, I have taken this news item. India to redefine blindness. What is blindness? As per our definition, as per the definition of National Program for Control of Blind, if a person is unable to count fingers from a distance of 6 meters, if a person is not able to count fingers, then we categorize them as blind. But World Health Organization stipulation is 3 meters. So, there is a mismatch between India as well as world of declaring who are blind. So, India is now going to redefine blindness and India's rules are going to align with WHO, right. So, this will align India with the world data. Next news item is yesterday Mann Ki Baat, and a few things I have taken from this, please do not forget. Prime Minister congratulated the people of Bangladesh on its 46th Independence Day, and Bangladesh celebrates Independence Day on 26th of March, please do not forget. And recently Bangladesh announced Genocide Day on 25th March. So, Bangladesh recently announced Genocide Day on 25th March and 26th March is Independence Day. And one important aspect about Bangladesh is Bangladesh national anthem was composed by Rabindranath Tagore. This thing please do not forget. The Prime Minister also paid homage to Bhagat Singh, Sukhdev, Rajguru, who were hanged by the British on March 23, 1931. And another important aspect is 2017 falls as 100th year of Champaran Satyagraha. Champaran Satyagraha in Bihar completing 100 years. These things please do not forget. And in fact, it is one decisive movement in the paradigm shift of Indian national movement. Then maternity leave increased from 12 weeks to 26 weeks, and the Prime Minister stated that it would benefit 18 lakh women in the formal sector. And the Prime Minister also mentioned about Bhim app, which was downloaded by 1.5 crore people. And please do not forget this World Health Day. We are going to celebrate World Health Day on April 7, and this year United Nations is focusing on depression. According to one estimate, more than 35 crore people in the world are suffering from depression, which comes to around 5% of the global population. Right, these are the aspects from Mann Ki Baat. India eyes Dhruv's foreign market. India is planning to sell these Dhruvs to the foreign countries, adjacent countries, at the same time Southeast Asian countries. Now, India is looking at them. So, India is in talks for supplying Dhruv. Dhruv is actually indigenously developed advanced light helicopter. In fact, it is designed and developed by Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, and it is powered by Shakti engine jointly developed by HAL and France. At present, this light helicopters, around 200 are in service with Indian military. Right. So, this is the picture. Look into the next one. Remembering the genocide in Bangladesh, there is one news item, and please do not forget March 25 is declared as a genocide day in Bangladesh. Then Hong Kong chooses first woman head. Here I would like to tell you one point from geography perspective. The point is two regions, Hong Kong and Macau. Hong Kong and Macau, these two are part of China, and these two are special administrative regions of China. Please do not forget, Hong Kong and Macau, these two are special administrative regions of China, and if I am not wrong, this Hong Kong was given by British to China in 1997 or so, and subsequently Portugal has given this Macau to China, and now Macau and Hong Kong are being administered as special administration regions of China. Iran imposes sanctions on 15 US firms. This is going on because of the missile program of Iran. US imposed sanctions, and now Iran imposed sanctions on US firms. Next one is GIC may be the first PSU to go public. Here one important news item I would like to reiterate. The news item is insurance companies. This 5 insurance companies are going to be listed. Here most important is this GICRE. This is India's first and only reinsurer. Please understand, India's first and only reinsurer is a GICRE, and remaining 4 government insurance companies, national insurance, like that 3 more general insurance companies are there, and at present government's shareholding is 100%. Government owns everything in these 5. Now government, to increase accountability, to increase, or you can say to improve governance, it is going to delist 25%, or you can say it is going to, delist cannot be used, sorry, it is going to sell 25% of the stake. So 25% of the stake will be sold in these 5 general insurance companies, and government will hold then 75% in these companies, and for selling they are going to be listed in the stock exchanges, right. So this is one picture, and Namami Brahmaputra festival is going to be held shortly. Namami Brahmaputra festival is going to be held, and the news is Dalai Lama is going to participate in Namami Brahmaputra festival in Assam, and China objected to it. Last week we discussed, when Dalai Lama is visiting Tawang, then China objected to it. Similarly, now Dalai Lama is going to participate in this Namami Brahmaputra festival, and again China took objection to this, right. So here we close, news for a while. Analysis of editorials and articles. Here the first one is with regard to a timely step, why it is called timely step, and incidentally this one I am going to discuss tomorrow at 12 o'clock in comprehension discussion. And why it is called timely step? Recently government decided for giving money to 10 weak banks, 10 weak public sector banks. Government is giving some money, but government imposed several conditions. Within 3 years, please show improvement. So government linked the support with the improvement in this 10 public sector banks, and if some improvement is not taking place, then of course government may go for merging them with some other public sector bank, right. We have to wait and see what government will take. And now the news says government decided to support the weak public sector banks, at the same time please transform, that is the message. And as per the RBI's financial stability report, the non-performing assets are 12%. So if the banks are giving 100 crores of loans I am telling in a layman's language, if the bank is giving loans worth rupees 100 crores, 12 crores have gone away. So, gross non-performing assets means this bank's loans which are becoming unproductive and there is no scope for coming back to the bank's kitty. So, banks are badly suffering because of non-performing assets. As on date, for public sector banks, 12% of the loans given are gross non-performing assets, and the finance ministry has identified 10 of these public sector banks for urgent corrective action. And have a glance, public sector banks and then private sector banks. Private sector banks can be categorized into two: old generation private sector banks like Dhanlakshmi Bank, South Indian Bank, Federal Bank, Catholic Syrian Bank, and new generation private sector banks. Examples are this S Bank, HDFC Bank, then ICICI Bank, Axis Bank. These are all examples of new generation private sector banks. Then foreign banks operating in India. So, if you look into these categories, the financial position of public sector banks is quite bad. In comparison to other banks, 12% of the loans have become non-performing assets, gross non-performing assets. The biggest problems faced by the public sector banks as on date are falling CASA ratios and high gross non-performing assets. CASA ratio is the ratio of savings account and current account deposits to the total deposits. When savings account and current account deposits are more, then banks' profitability will be more. But the biggest problem is this CASA ratio is falling, and at the same time this non-performing assets are increasing. This is the biggest problem faced by the public sector banks. And non-performing assets here, when the interest or principal is due for 90 days or more, that is a non-performing asset. And if you look at the main reasons for high gross non-performing assets, I have given 10 reasons here. Please go through these 10 reasons. Inefficient credit appraisal mechanism. In public sector banks, the credit appraisal mechanism is not satisfactory. It has not developed proper credit appraisal mechanism to grant loans up to 500 crores, 1000 crores, something like that. The second one is more exposure to corporate loans. From 2008 to 2013, during the 5-year period, the public sector banks have gone for massive expansion of corporate loans, and in fact that caused lot of problems to the public sector banks. And retail loans are the loans normally failures will be less. You may have a doubt, what is meant by retail loans? Retail loans means loans given to people like you and me. We normally do not fail, but corporate sector badly fails. Then stress in some sectors like infrastructure, steel industry. Structural bottlenecks are also there, like environmental problems, forest clearances, land acquisitions. Then global downturn. As a whole across the world, there is a downturn that is also affecting the balance sheets of banks. Then political interference while granting loans. This is the biggest problem, political interference while granting loans in the public sector banks. At the same time, political patronage of borrowers. Borrowers have got political patronage at high level. Then banks have not exercised desired prudence and asset bubbles could not be understood properly. So, these are all the main reasons for high gross non-performing assets. When non-performing assets are there, there are several mechanisms for solving it. When there is genuine reason, restructuring of the loan can be done. When the reason is not genuine, because when the bank is not getting back the loan monthwise, then the bank can have several mechanisms. One such mechanism is debt recovery tribunals. Second one is asset reconstruction companies. They can sell the loans to asset reconstruction companies. then filing winding up petitions in a court of law, filing criminal cases, strategic debt restructuring, and S4A is also there. So, several mechanisms are there, but most of these mechanisms are utter failure. Now, for weak banks, government came up with some support, with some riders. Now, if you look at this PPT, you will come to know the corrective action plan includes unions also. Now, in the corrective action plan by the public sector banks, unions are also included, and this is very much necessary as the staff are also important stakeholders. The risk of continued failure may lead to job losses in future. So, the above step is absolutely mandatory, and center has to work simultaneously with the Reserve Bank of India as well as the lenders to structure appropriate mechanisms for a turnaround plan. The haircuts required to be taken by the banks must be acceptable to the vigilance authorities. What is meant by haircut? Here, haircut means if the loan value is 100 crores, then the borrower is not paying back, then bank may have agreement with the borrower, please pay 50 crores, 60 crores, we will close it. So, there is a haircut or loss of 40 crores, 50 crores. So, vigilance should not enter, CBI should not enter. So, the haircuts may be required to be taken, but vigilance must look at it from the realistic perspective. Then the 3-year time limit is given for improving the financial health of the banks. This is in line with the bank's commitment of following Basel III norms by March 31, 2019. So, there is not much time to act, and now it is the time whether perform or perish. Either of the things is going to happen, any one of these things is going to happen by 2-3 years in several public sector banks. Right. Next, poor vote getters blame the tools. Poor vote getters blame the tools. What is this about? This is about electronic voting machines. Recently, BJP got a spectacular victory in Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand, and several parties raised the voice with regard to the reliability of electronic voting machines. And I would like to throw some light on what are the voting machines and what is the world experience, why people are commenting now only, and why people are commenting after defeat, before that, not before that. So, here who manufactures this EVMs? One of the firm is Bharat Electronics, other one is ECIL. So, they are behind manufacturing them. So, what are these units? One is ballot unit. So, ballot unit, basically the name will be there, symbol will be there, we have to press. The other one is control unit, basically it counts how many votes are polled to particular party or particular individual, you can say, and normally the names are allotted on alphabetical order, not based on the alphabetical order of political party. The names are normally allotted based on the alphabetical order in the vernacular language in that particular state, right. Then we discussed about ballot unit and control unit. So, EVMs totally tamper proof as per this article. So, let us look at some important aspects. These are standalone machines. Here they are not networked, they are not networked machines either by wire or by wireless to any other machine or system. They are standalone. Their software is not networked with any other thing. They cannot be influenced or manipulated by signals from mobile phones or any other source. They cannot be influenced at all because they are standalone, and basically they are the things, software in the machine is burnt into one time programmable chip. It is not amenable for any changes. The basic point here is the software is once burnt into the chip, then it cannot be changed. It is not amenable for any change. Then it can never be altered or tampered with, and at the same time the source code of the software is not handed over to any outsider. So, these are the features of electronic voting machines. So, they are 100% tamper proof. then standard operating procedures are there. We discussed about the software part. So, they are tamper proof. At the same time, there is a standard operating procedure for deploying electronic voting machines. Here, political parties and candidates are participating in the testing and reliability of the machines. The testing and the reliability of the machines are done by the political parties and their representatives, and during the first level of testing, before the machines are allocated to constituencies at random, 5% of the machines are tested by polling 1000 votes. So, 5% of the machines are tested by polling 1000 votes, and basically to demonstrate the reliability and fidelity of the machines, and the machines are allocated at random to the constituencies. So, once a lot comes from ECIL or Bharat Electronics, then this lot is tested, and then these machines are allocated to constituencies by random basis. Randomly they are allocated to constituencies. Subsequently, even within constituencies also, they are allocated randomly to the booths. So, before start of the polling process, each presiding officer conducts a mock poll to demonstrate the correctness of the machine. Right. So, mock poll is also conducted before the start of the election process. So, all the precautions are taken. These are standard operating procedures. We discussed about tamper proof. Second one is standard operating procedures. Then EVMs and other countries. In case of Germany, the Supreme Court disallowed electronic voting machines because their law did not have the enabling provision, not because of any tampering. Then in India also, in 1984, during the parliamentary elections of 1984, the Supreme Court barred the use of EVMs as the law at that time had provision for use of only ballot paper. In the United States of America, such a networkable direct recording system machine is still used extensively. So, this standalone non-networked machines such as Indian EVMs cannot be interfered with and are not vulnerable. Right. So, future, the other safeguard probably from 2019 or so, we will have this voter verifiable paper audit trial in future. In fact, it was implemented in very few places previously on experimental basis, and in future paper voter verifiable paper audit trial will come, and this is certainly a right step in the right direction, and full coverage of this VVPAT is expected by 2019, and it will stop allegations against EVMs also finally. So, this voter verifiable paper audit trail, what is the meaning? The meaning is once you vote for a particular candidate, you will be given a paper slip to whom you have voted, and this is just like ATM. ATM, after withdrawing money, we get some paper slip. Similarly, this voter verifiable paper audit trial will become reality from 2019 or so, and after that these problems will be completely eliminated. The river as a being. Here, two rivers were declared as legal entities recently. And from preliminary perspective, please do not forget Wanganui River in New Zealand. Wanganui River in New Zealand became the first legal entity, and basically that is because of the pressure of Maori tribes. So, from preliminary exam perspective, Maori tribes, they belongs to New Zealand, and Wanganui River became the first river in the world to become legal entity. Now, Uttarakhand High Court declared that two rivers as legal entities. Normally, companies, corporations are legal entities. Company Reliance Industries is a legal entity, Airtel is a legal entity, Tata Industries is a legal entity. Somebody may sign on its behalf. It can fight court cases against some other company can fight court cases against this company. So, that is known as they will have right to sue and the capacity to be sued. Please understand carefully. So, companies, corporations, they are all legal entities. Some person will sign on its behalf. So, they will exist irrespective of the persons. So, they will exist as entities, that is Reliance Industries like that, they will exist as legal entities irrespective of persons. So, here this legal entity or legal person means they enjoy all the rights, duties and liabilities of a living person. They enjoy just like the rights enjoyed by us. Companies, corporations enjoy the status of legal persons. They will have the right to sue and capacity to be sued. So, they will act on its own. Somebody may sign on its behalf, but they are independent. Previously, courts granted legal status to temple deities as well as religious books, but this is for the first time. A natural environment like a river has been declared as a legal person. So, the legal entity will act as an independent entity to enter into contracts, to sue other persons, entities, and someone will sign the documents on its behalf. So, here Yamuna and Ganga are legal entities as declared by the High Court. Yamuna and Ganga, legal entities. What is the history of the case? Why Uttarakhand High Court declared them as legal entities? 3 points are there. 3 months ago, Uttarakhand High Court ordered removal of illegal constructions on the banks of a canal in Dehradun. Second point is, it also directed division of water resources between Uttarakhand and Uttar Pradesh as mandatory subsequent to the formation of a new state. Uttarakhand was formed in the year 2000. In fact, 3 states were formed at that time. So, as per the reorganization, because Uttarakhand was carved out of Uttar Pradesh, and as per the State Reorganization Act, this division of water is to be done, and accordingly it directed the constitution of Ganga Management Board, a statutory authority under the UP Reorganization Act 2000. 3 months passed, but nothing happened. Now, Uttarakhand High Court has exercised the power as parent of the country. Please understand this legal language. Uttarakhand High Court exercised parents patriae jurisdiction. Parents patriae jurisdiction. What is the meaning? Parents patriae means parent of the country, because they are non-living entities. So, non-living things should have somebody act on its behalf as a parent or guardian. So, parents patriae means parent of the country, and it is inherent power of the sovereign and not the courts. In fact, this parents patriae power is the inherent power of the sovereign. That means government of India can exercise and not the courts. This is basically to provide protection to persons unable to take care of themselves. In fact, when persons they are not able to take care of themselves, government can intervene, government can act on behalf of the persons. The term is known as parents patriae, and it was deployed by the Indian government in Bhopal gas tragedy case of 1984. In Bhopal gas tragedy case, the government assumed the role of parents patriae to fight on behalf of the victims of Bhopal gas tragedy in 1984, which occurred on the intervening night of December 2 and December 3. Then now High Court assumed the role parents patriae by appointing Director Namami Gange, Chief Secretary Uttarakhand, Advocate General of Uttarakhand as persons in loco parents. In loco parentis. What is the meaning of in loco parentis? In loco parentis means the persons who will act in the role of parents for 2 rivers. So, these 3 persons will act as parents. Right. Now, can the following possible? Right. It was declared as legal entity and some officials are nominated as parents, but there are no easy answers, because can the in loco parentis or you can say acting parents exercise the right for not dumping tons of sewage in the rivers? Can they demand minimum ecological flows? Then can the Chief Secretary of Uttarakhand sue a municipal corporation in Uttar Pradesh or Bihar for the discharge of effluents downstream? So, here as parents, what they can do? Simply keep quiet. Lot of garbage is being dumped into the river across its territory, and will the director Namami Gange sue the central government for approving hydroelectric project on the river? Then do other riparian state governments now have less of a role in the protection of the rivers as they are not identified as custodians? So, these are all questions which is not easy to answer. So, only time can say how it will turn out to be in the future, right. Let us look at revisiting India's nuclear doctrine. In fact, India is nuclear power, all of you are familiar with, but India has got one specific doctrine. What is the doctrine? No first use doctrine. What is the meaning of no first use doctrine? We do not use nuclear powers the first time, but if anyone uses on us, then we will smash that person or country. You can say if some country is using nuclear weapons on us, then we will decimate that country. So, that is the theory of no first use policy. On our own, we never use it, right. So, this is the stated policy of no first use doctrine. There are in fact several voices to revisit this policy, and basically no first use policy will act as a nuclear deterrent to other countries, because we are nuclear power, but if someone attacks us with nuclear weapons, then only we will use them. We do not use unnecessarily, we are responsible nuclear power, what I mean to say, not like some countries. So, we are responsible nuclear power and we use it responsibly, not decimating countries unnecessarily. That is the meaning of no first use doctrine, right. So, before going into that, you have a clear meaning of conventional weapons, weapons of mass destruction. Conventional weapons are there is sea and land mines, shells, rockets, missiles, cluster bombs, incendiary weapons. These are all conventional weapons. As per the world doctrine, conventional weapons are banned in civilian areas, please understand. Conventional weapons are banned in civilian areas, and in fact, this incendiary weapons just like fire bombs, these are prohibited in civilian areas as per the protocol 3 of the convention, and convention on certain conventional weapons is there, that is known as the inhumane weapons convention, and if I am not wrong, most of these weapons are banned in civilian areas only. Altogether total ban is not there, only civilian areas they are banned. And if you look at weapons of mass destruction, we discussed about the conventional weapons. At the same time, the other class of weapons are weapons of mass destruction. These are nuclear weapons, biological weapons, chemical weapons, radiological weapons. And we discussed several times about chemical weapons. In fact, in the world for the past few years, for the past 2-3 years, we are worrying about chemical weapons, and recently North Korean leader was killed with chemical weapon. Within few minutes he died, and there are news reports that Islamic State used chemical weapons. At the same time, there are news reports Syria used chemical weapons. So, this is the most alarming trend in the world today as far as weapons of mass destruction is concerned, and altogether as per the convention, this chemical weapons is totally banned. This incendiary weapons or this class of conventional weapons, these are banned in civilian areas, but chemical weapons are totally banned and entire chemical weapons must be eliminated across the world. But North Korea has got chemical weapons, Syria has got chemical weapons, Islamic State has got chemical weapons. So, the chemical weapons convention is not able to do much, right. So, this is the present state, and now our no first use doctrine says India reserves the right to a nuclear retaliation in the event of a major attack against India or Indian forces anywhere by biological or chemical weapons. So, our no first use doctrine says we can attack when India or Indian forces are attacked anywhere by biological or chemical weapons, and this article says that no first use should work as a nuclear deterrent without additional caveats. This article says that as per the no first use policy, we can use nuclear weapons when our forces are attacked with biological weapons or chemical weapons, and this is not correct. You should not use this nuclear weapons, strictly follow no first use doctrine without these additional caveats. That is the essence of this article, right. So, no first use builds stability into deterrence by credibility, promising nuclear retaliation in the face of extreme provocation of a nuclear first strike. So, the essence of the article is when there is a nuclear first strike, then only use the nuclear weapons, and in case our forces are attacked with biological or chemical weapons, do not go for usage of this nuclear weapons. That is the essence of this article. So, nuclear weapons are not just like any other weapons in the nuclear toolkit, but a game changer, hence should not be with caveats, right. So, this is the essence of this article. Look at the last one, tackling Pyongyang. This is about North Korea, and we discussed several times. This is the Korean Peninsula, and it has got North Korea, South Korea. North Korea has got boundaries with maximum length of boundary with China. Then South Korea, this is boundary, and a small boundary with Russia, please do not forget. And look at these seas, Sea of Japan, East China Sea, LOC, and now the issue is United States of America is deploying third missile defense system in South Korea. United States of America is deploying third missile defense system in South Korea, and this in fact in future may strain the relations between USA and China further. So, here they use hit to kill technology, which offers protection against short to medium range ballistic missile attacks. This third missile defense system we discussed several times. So, third missile defense system, China feels that it is to have surveillance on China, and China also follows no first use doctrine, and China strongly feels that this missile defense system which is being established in South Korea is in fact will act as surveillance on the Chinese facilities which are not far away from South Korea. So, the main soaring of relations between China and the USA as well as China and South Korea is the establishment of a third missile defense system, right. So, this may be a potential question for civil services prelims also, and already relations between South Korea and China strained, and basically China feels that it is to strengthen USA's presence in the region, and China and USA should sit together to solve this impasse. Otherwise, this will not go away. So, we came to the end of today's important news as well as editorial discussion. In fact, in the article on no first use policy, not much is mentioned about no first use doctrine. We would like to present one capsule on no first use policy of India. because that is into the news for the past 5-6 months, and this third missile is also into the news for the past few months. Right friends, with this let us conclude today's editorial discussion. Please do join at 12 o'clock. We are going to deliberate on privacy policy of Aadhaar, right. Please do join at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning for editorial discussion. As I have already told you, from April 1st onwards, these two will be separated, and at the same time from May 1st onwards, we are going to deliberate important aspects pertaining to civil services preliminary examination, probably 4 days a week from May 1st, and they will continue for 30 minutes a day, 4 days a week. We are going to deliberate in detail most of the aspects, and 1 year events will be reviewed in easy to learn fashion with PPTs. So, with this let us conclude today's editorial discussion. Have a nice day. Thank you.